Well, hello everybody. Good evening, kids. How is everybody doing? Oh my goodness, my connection is not happy. Oh, I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi. Well, that was quite the adventure. Great start to the stream. On the wrong internet connection, on the wrong Wi-Fi, and I had to drop everything and reconnect on the correct one right at the beginning of the stream. But hey, better to catch this now than to catch it later. So, hey everybody, hi kids. How is everybody doing? I hope you're all doing well. I am doing okay. I want to welcome you to another episode of The Abyss. I am your host, The Eternal Abyss. How is everybody doing? I hope you're doing good. Here we are, again, streaming, trying to see if I can keep this up regularly. I was not able to stream last week, but I am here now. Hold on, what's going on here? Hold up. What is going on here? I don't understand what's going on. I think something is playing. What the heck is playing here? Huh. I don't know. I'm getting levels on my desktop sound, but I have nothing going on. So I'm really not sure what's happening here. Oh, let me adjust my I'm sorry. Let me adjust my chat position here a bit because it's really covering the restreaming chat. Speaking of, I want to say hello to everybody that's on the other platforms I'm streaming on, of course. I want to say hello to everybody on YouTube. Please get off of YouTube and come to Rumble, because I want to say hello to everybody on Rumble, if there are people watching. Please get me off of YouTube. It's terrible. It's just terrible. So, if you guys switch over to Rumble, that makes my life way the hell better. Just saying. Here we go. This cropping here is just not, hold on. Chat is not, like, there we go. Here we are. Okay. Better. Much, much, much better. I think that's just my background music that was playing. I'm going to lower it a little bit, and I'm going to turn it back on here. Because I have this low-key background music going on. And of course, I want to say hello to everybody on Realms, the main platform that I stream on. Without Realms, I wouldn't really be streaming presently, because they allow me to say pretty much anything I want. Rumble is a close second. I'm pretty sure there may be a few things that I can't say on Rumble, but I haven't tested that theory out yet. So, but hey, a few things have been happening in the news, and I just want to get into like a little comfy stream. We're going to talk a little bit about the latest interview with Laura Ingraham and Donald Trump. I'm actually thinking about maybe playing the whole thing, but I don't know if we want to go through a whole play-by-play kind of thing. I'd rather just talk about some of the more controversial items that people have been bringing up, and just putting my 2 cents in and seeing how people feel about that, So that's really what I like to do. And then we'll do our Let's Read section of the stream, where I've been starting this. We read a little bit of Gilgamesh, and we're going to read the second part of it, The Journey. That's going to be interesting. I thought the first session went very well. I think it was fun. I think everybody had a good time. And I think it's a fun little thing that we can keep doing. And once we're done with Gilgamesh, we'll figure out what our next book or piece of literature is that we're going to read. Oopsie. I just knocked over something here. Oh, that reminds me. I need to actually... hold on. I'm running off of battery here. I'm not actually plugged in, so I better plug this in because streaming is going to drain the battery on this little bad boy here. So let's make sure we have that situated. There we are. All right. So, yeah, so that's basically the plan for the stream. And today is Veterans Day, as I'm streaming here, so pardon me. I do want to say, take a moment to recognize our veterans and their contributions and their sacrifices. I will be the first to say, I have a deep appreciation and respect for the military. Mostly because it wouldn't be something that I would want to get into. And it's not that I don't have any loyalty to my country or anything like that. Far from it, actually. It's just that it's like with police as well, fire department, firemen. It's one of those things that it's a difficult job, and I don't think I could physically do that. And I appreciate people that put themselves on the line to protect others and protect our country and our interests. Whether those interests are always on the right side of history or not, that's a big problem, and it doesn't necessarily diminish the fact that these people were willing to die for their country. So I think that appreciation is merited independent of that. Now, there have been moments where even I have been frustrated with our military and our veterans, because sometimes you have veterans that go out there and they use that as kind of a bludgeoning tool, where they're like, well, I'm a veteran, so I can say this and I can criticize that and I can do this and I can do that. And I don't agree with that, because it's like, just because you're a veteran doesn't mean you're automatically right. I'm sorry. Like, you could be in the military. You can. I appreciate the sacrifice. I appreciate everything. Appreciate the service. You can still be dead ass wrong. On your opinion. And if that's the case, okay, yeah, fine. Express yourself. Express your opinion. What have you. That's all hunky dory. But you're not above reproach in terms of me expressing my opinion on something that you said, or something political, or what have you, whatever it is. I'm a firm believer that nobody is above reproach, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, because some people have been talking about a few things here on Veterans Day, and I'm going to mute my microphone for a second because I got to blow my nose. As many of you who are longtime listeners know, I have allergies, and sometimes my nose likes to act up, especially when I'm on stream. So hang tight for a second. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that'll hold me for the rest of the stream. So yeah, here we are, and I'm glad to be here. So, just had to chat up here. All right. So like I said, it's Veterans Day. Not too long ago, we had a president who couldn't even be bothered when bodies of soldiers were being brought in. He would check his watch and everything. And we had a president now today. Trump went to lay the wreath, do the whole ceremony. I appreciate that. I can appreciate any president. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican. I can appreciate when a president goes and actually kind of does these ceremonial things. I appreciate that very much so, because I think it's important. I think it's important for a leader to show that they have respect for those that go out there that serve the country and that potentially die for their country. I can appreciate that, and I feel that Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they have been shitting on our military for years and years and years. And there are some Democrats that they at least do the lip service. They at least say, oh yeah, we appreciate our military. We want veterans to have benefits, et cetera, blah blah blah. Sure. Okay. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. But where's the actual walk of the walk? They can talk the talk sometimes, but can they walk the walk? And that's really where I find that there's a lot of lacking on the Democrat side. The only time I ever hear Democrats trying to defend soldiers and the military is when it's just convenient for them, And it's kind of ridiculous, really. I'm pausing here because I'm getting myself something to drink, and I just realized I had a little bottle of Kentucky bourbon that I have not consumed. And I just got myself a Coke, and I'm like, maybe some Coke and bourbon. There's that, or there is rum, coconut liqueur, Caribbean rum with coconut liqueur, Malibu. I could throw that into the Coke to have more of a tropical flavoring to it. Or you know what? Let's just stay away from the alcohol for now. Maybe that'll be the after stream party. We could do that. Yes, on a Tuesday, friendo. Welcome to the stream. I streamed not last week, but the week before that. It was a Tuesday. This is the time I have to stream. I would actually prefer to do a comfy Monday stream. So, did I say Monday? A comfy morning stream, like every morning. But sorry, I was just getting some messages and calls, and I'm trying to silence my phone here so it doesn't interrupt what I'm trying to do. Oh, drinking. I don't drink, so I don't have a particular day that I drink. I never drink, honestly. Like, rarely do I drink. Not that I'm opposed to drinking alcohol like in its entirety. There's nothing wrong with reasonable consumption of alcohol, like if you're drinking wine with a meal, or having just one drink socially with friends, there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't believe in drinking to get drunk. I don't see the point of it. I think we talked about this even at the last stream, because I just don't do that. It's just not part of my modus operandi. So it is what it is. But as I was saying, I appreciate presidents' modus operandi. Yeah. Welcome to the stream, sir. Friend 33313. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's yes, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, essentially that's kind of how it is for me. It's modus operandi. That's quite accurate, actually. But to each his own. At the end of the day, that's what I say. But going back to what we were talking about with Veterans Day, yeah, I appreciate the fact that Trump actually, he does seem to care at least, more so than even Republicans and Democrats. That's just a perception that I've always gotten from him. He does seem to care about the military. He cares about law and order. Whether he puts it in practice in a very practical and logical way, and some people can say yes, some people may have some debate on that, and that's fine. So far, I mean, I don't think anybody has ever faulted him really for his support of the military, as well as the policies that he's tried to put forth to help law enforcement and military. So kudos to Trump and his administration, and to all the veterans out there. I do want to say, I hope you had a good Veterans Day, and despite the insanity of the world, people appreciate the sacrifice. People appreciate you, believe it or not, and they should. And I just wanted to say that I do appreciate our military as well, and I just wanted to throw that out there. So, what are the big news items? I mean, we got to talk about this. It just happened really very recently. The government is essentially on its way to getting open. If it's not already, like they're in the, it's going to take, I think, a couple days of all these procedural votes, and then it's going to by tomorrow it should reach Trump's desk to sign the continuing resolution. So this is the thing I wanted to kind of get into regarding the closure of the government. 40 days. Everybody talks about, it's the longest our government has ever been closed. Historic, longest, and that's fine. But I think really people need to frame it correctly. It's the longest closure caused by the Democrats. And the Democrats have been screaming and, going all over the place saying, oh, no, it's the Republican shutdown. The Republican don't want to open the government. They want people to suffer. They don't want to pay SNAP. They don't want to do this. They don't. And you know what? The thing is this. It's bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit. They waited until the election. They're purposely using the shutdown because in their view, hurting people would help the Democrats turn out and vote. And unfortunately, they, I don't know if they were necessarily right in that, to be honest with you. And the reason why I say that is because I haven't seen any data come out saying that people voted for like Mamdani or the other crazy Democrats in New Jersey and Virginia. I haven't heard any reports that saying, post-election, doing like post-election polls. I haven't heard anybody say, oh yeah, I voted for the commie because of the shutdown. That was one of the driving mitigating factors behind my vote. I haven't seen one stitch of evidence regarding that, one iota. I haven't seen nothing. Just nothing. So I have my doubts that is a mitigating factor, but we're going to talk a little bit about that because now I know we talked a little bit about it before when I streamed last, but I feel like now is even a better and more appropriate time to kind of do a follow-up on those elections because there's been a lot of commentary on it, and I just want to throw my 2 cents in it on that. I mean, so yeah, the government is going to reopen, and the Democrats are many Democrats are livid that the government is reopening. All these people like Jimmy Kimmel, The View, all these like talking heads, Harry, the huge homosexual Sisson, however his name is fucking pronounced, a little twerp. The guy's so gay. I'm sorry. He can say whatever he wants. He can put the fake photos with the guy with the fingernails on there to make it look like he's dating a woman. I don't believe it for one fucking second. Anyways, point is that the Democrats are livid, saying they're saying the Democrats caved. The Democrats caved. Well, wait a minute. Up until literally 5 seconds ago, you were saying it was the Republicans that were keeping the government closed. It was the Republicans that wanted people to suffer. It was Republicans that were prolonging this. So how can the Democrats cave if they weren't the ones keeping the government closed? You see where the little fallacy is there? And Democrats do this all the freaking time. They will speak out of both sides of their mouths. They will change their positions on a dime. Whatever the position is, to give themselves any sort of advantage, or put themselves in better light. Like this is the thing. I believe in part the election played a role. To be fair, MTG was right about needing to find a solution to the healthcare thing. Obamacare and Affordable Care Act ruin healthcare by siding with the Dems. But siding with the Dems is pretty gay. I mean, that's been known for many years. So to me, I don't necessarily credit Marjorie Taylor Greene for that particularly. That needs to be fixed, and we tried to fix it. And assholes like McCain, when they had the opportunity to remove it from government purview, that freaking neocon rhino piece of shit, whatever ring of hell he happens to be burning in right now and getting his ass poked, he allowed Obamacare to stay on and keep going. He fucked that up. Then the Democrats with COVID, they put in these subsidies, and they themselves voted on the subsidies. They themselves voted on when these subsidies were going to be expiring. And they want to try and blame everything on the conservatives, on the Republicans, saying, "Oh, you guys are trying, you're gonna hurt people with Obamacare and all this and all that, and you're gonna hurt everyone's health care." And it's like, no, motherfucker, no, that's not how it works. The way things work is reality. Reality. Democrats passed Obamacare with the nuclear option, mind you. Okay, on top of that, it raised all the costs of healthcare, and then they put in all the subsidies, which cost even more money out of taxpayer money, because now you're paying higher premiums and you're paying more taxes to cover for the stupid bullshit of the subsidies. We're getting into much deeper debt. Our deficit is out of control, and part of it has to do with the Obamacare. I mean, it's costing $500 billion fucking dollars, I believe. They want no, I don't think it costs $500 billion. I think they want $500 billion worth of subsidies to be put in to save Obamacare. Fuck that. Fuck that. No, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. And then they want to blame the Republicans because they decided arbitrarily that was going to be the crux of their fight. That was going to be the hill they were going to die on. Stupid. The whole thing needs to be scrapped. We need to stop subsidizing cheap drugs in other countries by raising foreign prices and lowering domestic ones. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest problems we have here is that the pharmaceutical companies, they have way held too much control over our government, and they have the price gouging is insane. Medicines do not need to cost that much, especially a lot of those that are produced domestically. So we absolutely need to do that. Trump has lowered costs on a lot of different things, including certain medications. Insulin costs, for example. I know Biden tried to take credit for the insulin cost price, but Trump did it. Trump lowered the insulin price. Biden raised it and then lowered it back to the Trump level, and then he was trying to take credit for that. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. And Democrats are so retarded. They're like, yeah. Biden reduced the insulin price. Yeah. You know, what are you, fucking seals? Like, what's the matter with you? As you noticed, I've been a lot more blue in this stream than I normally am. I'm just annoyed that I'm not filtering myself. I usually try to filter myself. I don't care. The algorithm is not my friend on YouTube. I give no shits. So here we are. But anyways, it's a very ridiculous situation with the Democrats, and then you have people like Jimmy Kimmel, and this is the thing that amazes me. Jimmy Kimmel, for example, this is the same asshole that actually used his child with a heart condition as a political prop. Okay, that just shows you the quality of individual that you have before you. And then on top of that, he literally read a thing on his show scripted by Chucky himself, Chuck Schumer. And now he's like, oh, the Democrats caved. Chuck Schumer, he caved. This is terrible what he did. Really, you seem to not have much of a problem with him when it was convenient for you to use your child as a political prop. You know, you seem pretty hunky-dory with him. You seem to A-okay. Peachy keen. What happened? What happened? And I thought you were, again, I thought the argument was the Republicans don't want to pay SNAP. The Republicans don't want the flights to go out. The Republicans are keeping the government closed. The Republicans are trying to, cause harm to the country. It was all the Democrats. It was always the Democrats. That's what they do. It's their way of operating. They're trying to be as obstructionist and as damaging as possible to the Trump administration. And the thing that really gets to me is this. That's expected. That is literally expected. And you know what the biggest issue is here? The Republicans don't get it. The Republicans don't get it. They're not going to get it. They're going to keep playing the same game as they always do. The Democrats don't care about the game. They don't care about the rules. They don't care. When they're in power, if the Republicans tried to do what what the Democrats did now, if the Republicans tried to shut down the government, they would have done what they did with Obamacare. They would have used the nuclear option. Harry Reid used the nuclear option. They're trying to eliminate the filibuster. They voted on this already. They put it out there. Only Manchin and Sinema prevented the Democrats from doing that. And the Republicans are still playing the game as if everybody's following the fucking rules. How retarded is that? Really, just how fucking retarded is that? I don't understand. I wish I could understand the Republican logic of this. Maybe I'm missing it. I really wish someone could just explain this to me. Maybe someone who's more actively streaming every day in politics can tell me this is the long-term strategy of the Republicans. Because I am not seeing a long-term strategy. Just how these elections went down in New York, Virginia, New Jersey, Minnesota. I just don't see it. I just don't. They run their campaigns the same way they've always done. That's not going to cut it. You have one guy, Scott Presler, who's going around trying to register more and more Republicans. And what do the voters do? They don't show up like they always don't. I understand that the right and the conservatives are not as politically engaged like the left. The left, it's part of their being. It's like it's part of the fabric of their day-to-day existence. This cult indoctrination that Everything is racist. Everything is sexist. Everything is homophobic. Everything is transphobic. Everything is Islamophobic. Everything is this. Everything is that. Everything is white supremacy. Everything is blah, 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 blah. And it's obviously not correct. Of course it's not correct. It's not. It doesn't reflect reality. And I'm not saying that the right has to mirror the same cult-like mentality, but the right does need to come to some realization here that look what happened in the past decade. Okay, and even looking back further than that, look at what happened with just when Obama was up for re-election. When Obama was up for re-election and running against Romney, what happened? The most nonsensical things were said. Romney was accused of doing the most insane things, killing dogs, treating women like objects because he had a binder of women that, etc. So like they accused him of being completely out of touch with foreign policy regarding Russia, which is the quote of the ages when you have someone like the retard Obama going, the 1980s called and they want their foreign policy back. When Romney accurately said Russia is actually one of the big, problems on the horizon, one of our biggest enemies, one of the biggest problems we need to be looking at right now. And then what happens? Russia comes in and tries to invade Ukraine under Obama, or one section of it. And Obama, instead of sending them missiles or sending them anything, he sends them blankets. That's what the fuck he did. So, this isn't anything new. These tactics have been around since even before Obama. Reagan, Bush, George W. Bush, Romney, McCain, every other Republican that either was elected or was running for presidency or elected office. It's the same playbook that the Republicans always follow. And it's a losing playbook. It's an absolutely losing playbook. Look what happened in New York City. Curtis Sliwa, this idiot, pretty much guaranteed Mamdani to win. Because the polls were actually turned out to be really close with Cuomo and Mamdani, and Cuomo had a chance to win if Sliwa would have pulled out, or if Cuomo would have pulled out and told all of his voters, "Listen, let's not split our vote. The important thing is that this guy Mamdani, this insane communist, doesn't win. Vote for Sliwa." And what was Sliwa doing in terms of campaigning? He was barely anywhere. And I know that he was. It's not like he wasn't trying. It's not like he wasn't actively campaigning. He was. He was on Fox News a few times, but that's all he was saying was the same stuff that you hear all the time. The reason why Trump had such a wide coalition in this last election is because he wasn't saying the same stuff that you hear all the time. He was controlling the narrative. He was going out there and punching hard on his policies of what he wanted to accomplish. He was talking about big projects, big promises. And I think that's something that the GOP really, really needs to examine. And I'm not saying people need to go out there and act like Trump, because Trump is Trump. Acting like just look at Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's ridiculous copycatting that he does right now of Trump, it makes him look just cringe, retarded, and gay. It's just not going over well at all. He thinks that's somehow making him look good. It's really not. He is even more of a joke than he normally is. Let's just face it. He is. So Just taking a sip of my drink here. I don't think the strategy is to go out there and try and beat Trump. Which is why I don't even think, like, for example, Donald Trump Jr., Don Jr., going out there and trying to run is going to be very helpful, actually, because he's not his father, and he'll have the name, but he won't have the same. He won't have the same like oomph. He won't have the same impact and energy that his father has. Donald Trump is kind of a unique individual. With those one in a generation, or one in a multi-generation, there's not a lot of people like him, really. At least in my lifetime, I have never met anybody like Donald Trump. I mean, not that I've met Donald Trump in person, but what I'm saying is I have never known any other individual, either privately in my life or in public life, or as you see in celebrities, in the public square like this, in the public eye, any public figure that even comes close to how Donald Trump is. It's kind of like Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was one of those kind of individuals. Very unique individual. Had a unique, basically, vibe about him. Had a very particular way of speaking, acting, expressing himself. Rubbed some people the wrong way, because they're kind of uncompromising in how they act. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think actually that's a really good attitude to have, is just you be who you are. You just be yourself, and everybody else can go jump in a lake, essentially. So I think Republicans really messed up this election. I feel that a lot of these elections were in their grasp. They could have won New Jersey. They could have won Virginia. Winsome Sears not winning Virginia baffles me. It really baffles me. And it's a real big teaching moment for the Republicans too. Let's be clear about this, because when you have people literally voting for someone who is wishing death and harm and deriving joy from this, and voting for someone who supports that person who wishes harm just because they disagree with you politically and maybe even racially, that is an eye-opener right there. Because Spanberger never really condemned him, and really late into the campaign, her condemnation was weak, pathetic, bad. It was just lip service. It was obvious lip service. It was just bad. So that's the way I see it here, is that it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for the Democrats. They don't care. And it's not a good look for the Republicans, because the Republicans are just really throwing it out there, into the gutter. They're throwing the midterms away. And let me put an asterisk on this. Just because they've had these victories, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Republicans are screwed and there's going to be a blue wave in the midterms. There's still a lot of time between now and the midterms. And then we also have to consider the fact that these elections all happen in very, very, very blue areas for the most part. I mean, New York City, come on. A Republican winning New York City the likelihood is not very high. Virginia, they keep voting for freaking, that's where Bernie Sanders is from. They keep voting that idiot in as a senator. I mean, so obviously it's a challenging election minefield to navigate through. It's obvious. But if there's any hope for Republicans to maintain their majority, and maybe even gain a supermajority, They can do it. It is possible. The time is there for them to work and till these fields. They just really need to start pushing and producing. Get people excited about what you're doing. Get your base excited. Everything that's happening right now is doing nothing but frustrating your base. That's all that the Republicans are accomplishing. And I'm not even saying the administration, because the administration is trying to do certain things. And you have obstructionists on the Democrat side, just creating all sorts of problems and obstacles. And you have fecklessness on the right, where they're like, well, whatever, we can't really do anything about it. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. And I think it's high time that the Republicans really up their messaging. They need to be everywhere. They need to really put themselves out there. I think that's the other problem, is that, this is just what I notice, kind of objectively speaking. Democrats are everywhere. Every time Trump opens his mouth, or every time there is one little iota or one little thing or one little piece of legislation or one little political issue or one sort of social discussion that's happening, anything on social media, whatever, Democrats pounce on this shit. You have talking heads up, down, left, right, all over the place. You have politicians going on CNN, MSNBC, all these different things, going on Bill Maher, going on all these things. All these people all over the place. You have legislators acting like influencers all the freaking time. On the left, you have idiots like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Kinzinger. All these idiots Kinzinger he's whatever. He's not Republican in my view. He's on the left. All these rhinos and Democrats, they're always online, always posting shit, always putting videos out there, always doing TikToks, always doing all this performative action, which puts themselves in the forefront of any argument. Whether they're winning the argument or not, it's not even relevant. It's the fact that they're just out there all the time. They're in your face all the time. And the Republicans are always kind of like on the defense. They're like it's kind of like rope-a-dope, even though they're not getting really hit, because the Democrats' messaging isn't really that effective in terms of they're not dissuading the polls too much. Like, I don't see a shift in polls too much. I haven't seen much. And you also don't have like Republicans really going, oh my goodness, yeah, the Democrats are really destroying us. Like, no, they're not really hitting hard, but it's like it's quantity over quality. It's like an octopus with 100 fists slapping you, even though the slaps are like a feather. They're not really hurting you, but it's just a lot. You have all this stuff all over you. So then you got to weed, you got to weave through all that nonsense. You have to cut through that noise. And I think that's where the failure is on the Republican side. I think they have a hard time really cutting through that noise. And part of it has to do with the way media is set up. I will grant that. Part of it has to do that on mainstream, on the news items, on local news and CNN and all, like the mainstream media is all very leftist. It still is. All the late night shows are very leftist. Comedy shows, award shows, all movies, anything where there's video consumption, the grand majority of people involved in those industries and in the messaging, it's the left. It's all the left. There's a small sliver of that traditional media that the right has they have a sliver of that. It's a small niche like part of that. On social media, the right does have a much bigger bite of that apple, because despite being punched down, despite the censorship, I'm looking at you, YouTube, despite all the social media algorithm funniness that's going on and shenanigans like on Twitter when Twitter was Twitter, and even now, the algorithm on X is still, fucked up. It's still fucked up. But now you have a lot more splintering of different versions of Twitter, because you have Blue Sky, you have Threads, you have all this other bullshit. So, but in the social media space, I mean, the memes, for example, the right really dominates on memes because the left can't meme. They just seem incapable of doing that. They have no sense of humor. So, it's, the thing is that the Republicans really need to up their game. They just don't, and that's the problem. They don't up their game. They need to. They really, really need to. So I have concerns about the midterms. I'm not black pill that's like, well, it's a foregone conclusion. I'm not necessarily thinking that it's a foregone conclusion that the Republicans will lose the majority. They have time. They have time to get their shit together. I just fear that they're not going to do that. I fear that they're going to just keep doing the same old, and that's going to end up pretty much biting them in the ass. I think that's the biggest issue. Taser, hey! How you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, that's my biggest concern, in all honesty. I think that the Republicans have this big tendency of, there's two problems with the Republicans. One, whenever they are in power, they seem to not know how to govern effectively. They're very milquetoast. They're like, oh, okay, we're in power, so we're just gonna do things the way that things should be done. This little like tiptoeing and et cetera, So it's ridiculous, And then when it comes to running the elections, we already went through all that. I'm not gonna relitigate my entire argument over again, but those are the two issues here. You watch someone chimp out a Shiboon chimp out at Trader Joe's today due to not being able to pay. He said we should call it Strangler Joe's. Strangler Joe's? That doesn't even make sense. Yeah, Trader Joe's is one of those. It's kind of a weird place. I don't really shop at Trader Joe's. Fair point. Yeah, Trader Joe's does have a few things that are pretty good like that, like hummus. I will grant you that one. But yeah. Hold on a second. I thought I had background music that's supposed to be playing here. What's going on? What's going on? That's the image. Oh, there we go. Anyways, I guess for some reason the looping got turned off. So we're gonna talk about that. Yes and no. Yeah, you're saying they don't want to drag prices down. They want you to have you pay longer. So let's talk about some of those issues. because there was the interview with Laura Ingraham and Donald Trump, and a couple of things got brought up in that interview that, you know, the Panicans just went out in full force, as they do, and they're like, oh my God, 50-year mortgage, oh my God, you know, they just went nuts. So let's talk about that. One issue that came up was this: the 50-year 50-year home mortgage, basically. And then, like, I've been hearing about these 15-year car loans, etc. So one thing is this: yes, technically speaking, if you have a longer period to pay something, generally that payment will go down. Over time, you are paying more interest. Yes. So your monthly payment may go down. And it could be more helpful for someone who's trying to purchase something. Now, yeah, to me, the solution should be bring the price of the item down. I mean, cars are too expensive. Homes are too expensive. And it's not because of lack of inventory. I mean, some people want to argue lack of inventory. Okay. People are saying there's a shortage of inventory in the housing market, for example. Is there? Is there? Because, and the reason why I say that is, excuse me. And the reason why I say that is, while realtors may say that, you have to think about. Well, that's what I was getting at. You know, Taser is saying, Friendo wants his 120,000 Lexus for Christmas. That's what I'm talking about. People are looking at the inventory that's out there, and they're like, well, I want to buy a $300,000 house. I want to buy a $500,000 house, and I only earn $40,000 a year. And that's what it is. Yeah, exactly, friendo. It's manufacturers make more money off of the consumers by gouging the pricing. I mean, let's take, for example, an EV Hummer. Okay? So, if you would be interested in a EV Hummer, that is at the very minimum like a $90,000 vehicle. All right? And if you want to have a couple extra features in there, you're basically paying $100,000. $100,000 for a car. Think about that. Think about that. It blows my mind that people that's not. I don't even consider that luxury. I honestly don't consider that luxury. But we're talking even like an F-150, for example, a Ford F-150, or some other pickup truck or a regular SUV. You're spending 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand on an SUV, a pickup truck. Like, are you serious? This goes back to the same argument. I've made this argument for years and years and years. I want to see where the bill is generated. Show me that it actually costs you that much money to make the fucking car. I want to see that. How much does it cost for you to make the frame, the tires, everything, the screens, even on this high tech gobbledygook? I want to see how much it actually costs Ford, GMC, GM, Toyota. I want to see how much it costs these people to manufacture these parts, assemble everything together, and then spit it out for people to buy. Because I will guarantee you, it won't even come fucking close to $100,000. Not even fucking close. Same with homes. Homes are artificially inflated. That's one of the biggest issues we have in our markets right now. They are overvaluated, and the prices are overinflated. And because you do have less inventory than normal, again, I'm not gonna jump on the bandwagon of a shortage because, and I'll get to that in a minute. Why? There's new construction happening. I'm seeing new construction happening all over the place where I travel a lot and I go to different states and I see new construction everywhere. Okay, so homes are getting built. Single family homes, multifamily homes, these things are getting built. The issue is the price is so astronomical for these things, it doesn't reflect the reality of all the construction materials needed to put a house together. You know? And then the other thing is this, the newer generations, especially like millennials and younger people under 40, these people have an expectation of, well, I graduated from college and I was promised 6 figures and I got my degree in underwater, lesbian dance, and and they think that they're just gonna come out of college and earn all this money and be able to live this lavish lifestyle that they see on YouTube and they see on social media from these influencers, riding these supercars and living the high life at these luxury resorts, and that's where the big problem is there is a unrealistic expectation from the get-go, leaving the gate. When people in the past never had that expectation, they would go and I know a lot of people criticize the boomers for saying this, because you have some boomers out there that's like, oh, well, in my day, people would just buy a house for 10 grand. Well, yeah, but in your day was like fucking 50 years ago. The market back then is not what the market is now. The demographics back then aren't what the demographics are now. But I will say one thing. There is one thing that I will agree with the boomers when they talk about this and they gripe about the younger generation's spending habits and view of money. It is that there was a different expectation, though. The expectation wasn't, I'm gonna go and buy a house and let's buy a $500,000 house. They didn't think about it in those terms. They went into places where they would just get a small house, a tiny home. They wouldn't spend a lot of money. They do a lot of work on it themselves. And why is this thing not fucking looping? There's something going on with my thing here. Hold on, let me look at the properties. Oh, here we go. Loop is off. Let's turn it on again. There we go. So that to me does play a huge role. It plays a huge role in how people view purchasing a home and the expectations that people have. So I think that really matters. I really think that people need to put their heads on straight when it comes to that sort of thing, because buying a home, it's a big deal. Okay? Buying a home is a huge responsibility. There's a lot of work that's involved, and you're going to be spending a lot of money on the maintenance of that house. And I'm not discouraging people from buying a house. I'm just saying you gotta go into it with the proper expectations and the proper, vision of what you're getting into. So you gotta do that with everything in your life. You gotta do that with relationships. If you're gonna marry someone, you need to know who you're marrying. You need to know if they want kids or not. You need to know what their expectations of marriage is. And you need to know what your expectations of marriage is. And you got to see if those things fit. And how you're going to raise the kid. How you're going to manage finances. How are you going to manage, a work-life balance? All these things. A lot of people don't think that far ahead. They're not big picture thinkers. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have in our society today is like they used to try and teach critical thinking to people, but it's not even a matter of critical thinking. You can teach someone to think critically, but if they're just not looking at the big picture and they're always looking just at the small little brush stroke in front of them, and they're not stepping back to look at the entire work of art, it doesn't matter how critically how you critically think about that little piece. You got to look at the whole thing too. So that really is one of the crux here when it comes to this. And going to the property shortage now, the inventory when it comes to home buying, like a lot of realtors will say, oh, there's a shortage. Okay, well, I guess they're kind of okay. That was weird. Where did I cut off? Dang, I didn't realize my mic had cut out. That's so weird. Because the signal, I mean, I'm using a little lapel mic, those DJI ones. And it was going to the receiver. The receiver, I was getting a signal, but for some reason my computer wasn't catching it anymore. I wonder what was going on with that. How peculiar. I don't know when it got cut off, so I'm just going to keep going what I was talking about, and hopefully, it makes sense. So, housing supply, yes. So, one of the big issues that we have with the housing supply is this. Realtors will say, oh, we have a housing shortage. And people in the media are talking about, oh, there's a shortage. Oh, okay. It's kind of we kind of do, but we kind of don't. We have over, I think the estimates are about 20 million people that are here illegally in our country. It's like 20 million are certain estimates. And some estimates are saying there's even more than that. So we don't even know the exact number of people that are staying here illegally. I don't know if, maybe, I don't know if it's 100 million, but yeah, but they're usually living in one home, so I wouldn't count every single individual. But the thing is this, independent of the number, we have millions of people here in our country illegally taking up realty. They will eventually, yes. But people also will die off. People don't live forever. Yeah, they don't want you to buy a house, and that's a big problem too. That's what I'm saying. Like, we gotta really kick up the numbers when it comes to the deportations. If you get rid of all of the illegals, you're gonna clear and free up so much properties. It would not be difficult to fill those because you essentially flood the market with available homes. A huge portion of these people, if they're deported, gone. New homes available to buy right there. The other part of that equation is we have a lot of H-1B visas and other, like even the legal immigrants that are here. Now, I let me put an asterisk on that because I'll be the first one to say I don't have necessarily a huge problem with legal immigration. I do, however, say that legal immigration should be highly regulated. The people coming in here should be highly examined. We should be very selective about who we bring in. And I say this as a descendant of immigrants. I say this as someone whose family absolutely needed this country because their country of origin had basically abandoned them. We were talking about, people living in abject poverty and not having food to eat, not having nothing. Okay? So I am not prepared to say, I'm not prepared to say that close the door completely. All I'm saying is, when you're bringing in people, you have to be very selective. And by selective, I mean part of it is skills and contributions that they can bring to our society, to our economy, to our workforce, etc. But the biggest part of that equation that should be the threshold, the litmus test, is integration. Are you actually bringing people in here that want to be American? I don't know if maybe not with Vivek. I don't know. See, I'm talking about, for example, those waves of immigrants that came from Ireland, the waves of immigrants that came from Italy, the waves of immigrants that came from Germany. All these people, and Poland, for example, all these people literally abandoned their culture, their language. They never went back. Many pretty much wrote off the country they came from. Completely wrote it off. They're like, my country didn't help me. That's not my country anymore. I'm American. I'm in America. They told their kids don't speak any other language except English. And so that would be my only argument, because I can't in good conscience say that what was good for me and my family is not good enough for anybody else. But the difference between my family and my family history and everybody else is that my family was willing to give up their culture. They were willing to give up their language. They were willing to give up their history. They came here because this was their home now. This was their country. They're going to learn the language. They're going to assimilate to the American culture and society. They're Americans. They became Americans. And I think that's one of the big things that really needs a huge revamp in our immigration system. If that doesn't change, it doesn't matter how many people you deport. Because all the legal immigrations that are coming in, all these people from Somalia, all these people from Egypt or other foreign countries, or France or Russia or Germany or wherever they are, like, it doesn't even matter where they come from. If they come here and they have the expectation, like if people from the UK come here and their expectation is that we got to change our way of life to how they do things out in the UK, oh, fuck that. Negatory, morning glory. No. The politicians are evil. There's no excuse for an H-1B program that is 90% India only. It was never meant to be that, and Republicans fucking love Indians. It's over. I'm seething. True. Politicians are evil for the most part. A lot of them are. I'm not going to say in their entirety. There may be few random elements that are not 100% evil. The H-1B program has been wildly abused. Wildly abused. Absolutely wildly abused. There's no doubt about that. Anybody that tells you otherwise, they're just lying. And you have people like Elon Musk that just take advantage of those programs and for cheap labor, essentially. See, the H-1B program is the equivalent of people wanting illegals to come in to pick their fruits. The H-1B visa version is just the white-collar version of that. So, to me, top to bottom, left to right, the whole immigration system needs a major, major revamp. We need to have more stringent requirements. We need people to go through more hoops, in my opinion. I think that the process needs to be much more stringent. I mean, every other country, like take Switzerland, for example. Switzerland, you can't even have a residency there. You can't live there. They won't let you stay there unless you have independent income. You can show you're not going to be a leech on society. You're not going to mooch off the government. And that's great. That's absolutely the way it should be done. We should not be bringing people in that aren't willing to work, aren't willing to make a life for themselves. Like, again, going back to my experience, my family ancestry, they came here, and what did they do? They went to work. They went to work. They didn't depend on government programs. They didn't depend on government handouts. All like these social welfare programs. They didn't have phone system that spoke their language. They didn't have any way of communicating when they came here. It's not like there was a phone system that helped them. No. My ancestry didn't have that privilege. They were forced to learn English. And you know what? They did. Because they were in America. What the fuck? This is the thing that really boggles my mind, this kind of mentality of, like, America has this weird, like, people have this weird perception of America that America has to adapt to everybody. We're like basically the communal toilet bowl of the world where everybody can take a shit in it, but nobody wants to flush the toilet and clean it up. So you have all this stuff intermingling, and you're like, well, can someone actually clean some of this up? And I know it's not a perfect analogy here, but I mean, it kind of fits what I'm talking about here, because you have all these people coming in. But if I go to another country and I try to shit in their toilet bowl, they have all these rules. Exactly. Exactly, Orthodox. Welcome to the stream, man. It doesn't make any sense that there's this kind of double standard where if you come to America, I can't expect you to speak English. But if I go to Germany, you got to freaking know German. If I go to Japan, I got to learn Japanese. If I go to China, I got to learn, Mandarin or whatever, whichever, depending on which province I'm in. If I go to Russia, I got to learn Russian. They're not going to have a phone system in there for me, like if I just need to pay an electric bill. Oh, do you want to speak English in Russia? No, they're going to say you need to speak Russian and pay the rubles for your electric bill. Fuck you. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing fucking wrong with that. There's nothing wrong if we declare in our country that English is our language. Every immigrant group you've spoken of is mostly white European. The brown man does not care about your culture or customs. He wants to destroy them. That's part of it too. That's part of it too, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Certain groups coming to our country, certain groups coming to the United States are willing to make that sacrifice to integrate and become American. Other groups are not. And that's why I'm saying and I'm not saying it's strictly white Europeans. There are some people Like, for example, I'll give you a concrete example without going into too many details, because I don't want to name names and I don't want to dox people and I don't want to, and I will say this is anecdotal, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is, even though this is anecdotal, it does kind of provide a picture, at least a concrete picture of what I'm speaking of. Now, again, I know it's anecdotal, so let's just go with that for now. In my university days, I knew a person. This person was in one of my classes. We became friends, and he was from a country in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. And this gentleman, because the sub-Saharan country had been conquered by European countries way back in the day, it was a colony of a European country. This individual had a very European mindset, right? So one time I'm sitting with him, we're having lunch and we're talking and everything, and he just goes off on bitching and moaning about black people, like African Americans specifically. And he was as black as they come. There was no, like, this guy, you turn off the lights, you wouldn't see him. Basically, you can't mistake him at all, And this guy, he was talking about how terrible African Americans were in terms of their ethics. Exactly, it was like that, Doom. I'm not kidding. And he was a cool guy. Like, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything. But he was talking about, and he spoke in an accent too, because he was from Africa. So he was like, he was talking about how African Americans are lazy. They don't want to work. They're belligerent. Everything that you hear about the black fatigue that you hear about today. All this kind of stuff. And I was just like, we're at a university, so I'm like, you might want to keep your voice down because we're going to get our ass kicked. But he knew, he practiced martial arts, so I guess he didn't care. But the point is like, even people like, even though he was sub-Saharan African from a colony country that was a colony of a European country, he internalized that kind of European mentality. So him coming over here, he wasn't trying to change culture. He wasn't trying to change society to fit his country in Africa. He left his country because he said his country was a shithole. He said it. He came here and he's been here ever since, and he's married, he's adapted, he's like, not adapted, but the word I'm looking for is he embraced America. He embraced the culture, the politics, everything. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not strictly a white European thing. It's a mentality thing. And yeah, a lot of white Europeans have that mentality of when they come over, they're not trying to conquer or change things in a way to turn the place that they're in into the shithole that they came from. Italian Americans didn't come here and try to, put Mussolini back in power after World War II and tried to put a Mussolini equivalent in the United States. They didn't do that. Germans, when they came over here, they didn't try and put a new Kaiser in power. Or, the Quakers, when they came, they didn't demand that, every country, every state, every city, and the federal government put in Quaker law. No. They have their little enclaves. If they don't want to be part of the greater society, they stay in their little enclaves and they're just in their own little world, and that's it, and they don't bother anybody else. Okay, that's fine. Stay in your little enclave. But don't expect that your little enclave everybody has to follow your rules. If you come from a place if you're Islamic, don't have the expectation that you think that the United States is going to have to adopt Sharia law. Fuck you. No. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen, and it shouldn't happen in any country. What's happening in the UK is a tragedy. A tragedy. You have people from, like a couple of veterans that are still alive from World War II. You have they interviewed this guy recently, and he was saying that the UK now is not the country that they fought for. What's going on in the UK isn't what they fought for. They didn't go to fight and die in World War II for this. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I've been saying that for years too. Like all these people that died in the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, to preserve quote-unquote democracy and freedom throughout the world, etc., etc. This isn't what they fought for. And what these people are doing, the politicians and these activists and all these people that are shitting on every institution and they're basically spitting on the grave of all these people that spilt blood, sweat, and tears, specifically blood, to make this country what it is today. And it is enormously disrespectful. Enormously disrespectful. And that's that's a big problem that we have in our society, honestly. Like really, really bad. But I think we're at a good point here. I mean, I've been chit-chatting here for an hour and a half. I think we can take a break from politics and rambling and ranting, and we'll do our little let's read moment here. Whoops. Sorry. We were reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it's time for us to do our second part of that. Have a little break from the politics, from the ranting and raving. We were, let's see here, we were at part 2, the forest journey, right? So, oh, that's getting cut off here. Let me reduce that. So, here we go. I'm going to try and read through the entire part 2. Let me make sure that my microphone is still working the way it should. Okay. it's the Gargamel. The Epic of Gargamel. Fighting against the Smurfs. Someone should write the Epic of Gargamel. You know what? In the style of Gilgamesh, I'm gonna tell. Let's have some fun. I'm gonna go to Grok. Okay, here we go. I need a Epic of Gargamel in the style of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Let's see what it comes up with. Gargamel's from the Smurfs. Holy shit, it did it. Oh my god. This is epic. Gargamel had many Smurf wives. So here we go. Tablet 1 of the Sorcerer in his Tower. Hearken, O mortals, to the tale of Gargamel, the warlock of the woods, whose heart was forged in spite. In a hovel of stone, mist thorns and shadowed glades, he dwelt a tempest caged, with eyes like smoldering coals. Tall as the ancient yew, his frame was bent by hate, his beard a cascade of midnight. He didn't have a beard. All right. Let's go back to the actual epic of See, now you got me saying Gilgamesh. We'll read that another time. We can do that maybe at the end of the stream. Or we'll do that as our second reading. Epic of Garfield in the style of the Epic of Yes. The Epic of Garfield is a tale of lasagna and naps, a cat so fat he barely escapes. In the land of Mondays he roams free, chasing mice and dreaming of cheese. His nemesis, Nermal, so small and so mean, tries to steal his spotlight, but Garfield just yawns and ignores the scene. With Odie's slobber and John's despair, Garfield rules with a lazy stare. The Epic of Garfield, a tale of gluttony and despair. Bravo, Steve. See, we have a good little bot. But okay, I wanna start here with the Forest Journey, the Epic of Gilgamesh here. So the Forest Journey. Enlil of the mountain, the father of the gods, had decreed the destiny of Gilgamesh. So Gilgamesh dreamed, and Enkidu said, "The meaning of the dream is this. The father of the gods has given you kingship. Such is your destiny. Everlasting life is not your destiny. Because of this, do not be sad at heart. Do not be grieved or oppressed. He has given you power to bind and to loose, to be the darkness and the light of mankind. He has given you unexampled supremacy over the people, victory in battle from which no fugitive returns, in forays and assaults from which there is no going back. But do not abuse this power. Deal justly with your servants in the palace. Deal justly before Shamash." The eyes of Enkidu were full of tears, and his heart was sick. He sighed bitterly, and Gilgamesh met his eyes and said, "My friend, why do you sigh so bitterly?" But Enkidu opened his mouth and said, "I am weak. My arms have lost their strength. The cry of sorrow sticks in my throat. I am oppressed by idleness." It was then that the Lord Gilgamesh turned his thoughts to the country of the living. On the land of cedars, the Lord Gilgamesh reflected. He said to his servant Enkidu, "I have not established my name stamped on bricks, as my destiny decreed. Therefore, I will go to the country where the cedar is felled. I will set up my name in the palace where the names of famous men are written, and where no man's name is written yet, I will wise a monument to the gods. Because of the evil that is in the land, we will go to the forest and destroy the evil. For in the forest lives Humbaba, whose name is Hugeness, a ferocious giant." But Enkidu sighed bitterly and said, "When I went with the wild beasts ranging through the wilderness, I discovered the forest. Its length is 10,000 leagues in every direction. Enlil has appointed Humbaba to guard it and armed him sevenfold terrors." I don't know what that I is supposed to mean. "Terrible to all flesh is Humbaba. When he roars, it is like the torrent of the storm. His breath is like fire, and his jaws are death itself. He guards the cedar." Yeah, maybe it's pronounced yee. I don't know. Oh wait, his jaws are death itself. He guards the cedar so well that when the wild heifer stirs in the forest, though she is 60 leagues distant, he hears her. What man could willingly walk into the country and explore its depths? I tell you, weakness overpowers whoever goes near it. It is not an equal struggle when one fights with Humbaba. He is a great warrior, a battering ram. Gilgamesh, the watchman of the forest, never sleeps. Gilgamesh replied, "Where is this man who can clamber to heaven? Only the gods live forever with glorious Shamash. But as for us men, our days are numbered. Our occupations are a breath of wind. How is this already you are afraid? I will go first, although I am your lord. You may safely call out, forward. There is nothing to fear, and if I fall, I leave behind me a name that endures. Men will say of me, Gilgamesh has fallen in fight with ferocious Humbaba. Long after the child has been bony in my house, they will say it and remember." And Enkidu spoke again to Gilgamesh, "Oh my lord, if you will enter that country, go first to the hero Shamash. Tell the sun god, for the land is his. The country where the cedar is cut belongs to Shamash." Gilgamesh took up a kid, white without spot, and a brown one with it. He held them against his breast, and he carried them into the presence of the sun. He took in his hand his silver scepter, and he said to glorious Shamash, I am going to that country, O Shamash. I am going, my hand supplicate. So let it be well with my soul and bring me back to the quay of Uruk. Grant, I beseech, your protection, and let the omen be good. Glorious Shamash answered, Gilgamesh. Wait, I thought, wasn't Shamash female? I think Shamash was female, wasn't it? I don't remember now. But Gilgamesh, you are strong, but what is the country of the living to you? O Shamash, hear me, Shamash, let my voice be heard. Here in the city man dies oppressed at heart. Man perishes with despair in his heart. I have looked over the wall and I see the bodies floating on the river. Shamash is a 12-year-old boy? Nah, really? Hold on. Hold on. Oh my god. I can't type at all right now. Mesopotamian god. Nope, he's male. Okay. Okay. Alright, so, O Shamash, hear me, Shamash, let my voice be heard. Here in the city, man dies oppressed at heart. Man perishes with despair in his heart. I have looked over the wall, and I see the bodies floating on the river. And that would be my lot also. Indeed, I know it is so, for whoever is tallest among men cannot reach the heavens, and the greatest cannot encompass the earth. Therefore I would enter that country, because I have not established my name stamped on brick as my destiny decreed. I will go to the country where the cedar is cut. I will set up my name where the names of famous men are written. And where no man's name is written, I will raise a monument to the gods. The tears ran down his face as he said, Alas, it is a long journey that I must take to the land of Humbaba. If this enterprise is not to be accomplished, why did you move me, Shamash, with a restless desire to perform it? How can I succeed if you will not succor me? If I die in that country, I will die without rancor. But if I return, I will make a glorious offering of gifts and of praise to Shamash. Yes, he has to go. So, Shamash accepted the sacrifice of his tears. Like the compassionate man, he showed him mercy. He appointed strong allies for Gilgamesh, son of one mother, and stationed them in the mountain caves. The great winds he appointed, the north wind, the whirlwind, the stone and the icy wind, the tempest and the scorching wind, like vipers, like dragons, like a scorching fire, like a serpent that freezes the heart, a destroying flood, and the lightning's fork. Such were they, and Gilgamesh rejoiced. He went to the forge and said, I will give orders to the armorers. They shall cast us our weapons while we watch them. They gave orders to the armorers, and the craftsmen sat down in conference. They went into the groves of the plain and cut willow and boxwood. They cast for them axes of 90 pounds. Great swords they cast with blades of 60 pounds each one, with pommels and hilts of 30 pounds. They cast for Gilgamesh the axe Might of Heroes and the bow of Anshan. And Gilgamesh was armed and Enkidu, and the weight of the arms they carried was 30 pounds. The people collected, and the counselors in the streets and in the marketplace of Uruk. They came through the gate of 7 bolts, and Gilgamesh spoke to them in the marketplace. I, Gilgamesh, go to see the creature of whom such things are spoken, the rumor of those of whose name fills the world. I will conquer him in his cedar wood and show the strength of his sons, of the sons of Uruk. All the world shall know of it. I am committed to this enterprise, to climb the mountain, to cut down the cedar, and leave behind me an enduring name. The counselors of Uruk, the great market, answered him, Gilgamesh, you are young. Your courage carries you too far. You cannot know what this enterprise means which you plan. We have heard that Humbaba is not like men who die. His weapons are such that none can stand against them. The forest stretches for 10,000 leagues in every direction. Who would willingly go down to explore its depths? As for Humbaba, when he roars, it is like the torrent of the storm. His breath is like fire, and his jaws are death itself. Why do you crave to do this thing, Gilgamesh? It is no equal struggle when one fights with Humbaba. That battering ram, when he heard these words of the counselors, Gilgamesh looked at his friend and laughed. How shall I answer them? Shall I say I am afraid of Humbaba? I would sit at home all the rest of my days? Then Gilgamesh opened his mouth again and said to Enkidu, My friend, let us go to the great palace, to Egalma, and stand before Ninsun the queen. Ninsun the wise, with deep knowledge, she will give us counsel for the road we must go. They took each other by the hand as they went to Egalma, and they went to Ninsun, the great queen. Gilgamesh approached. He entered the palace and spoke to Ninsun. Ninsun, will you listen to me? I have a long journey to go to the land of Humbaba. I must travel an unknown road and fight a strange battle. From the day I go until I return, till I reach the cedar forest and destroy evil which Shamash abhors. Pray for me to Shamash. Ninsun went into her room. She put on a dress becoming of her body. She put on jewels to make her breasts beautiful. She placed a tiara on her head, and her skirt swept the ground. Then she went up the altar of the sun, standing upon the roof of the palace. She burnt incense and lifted her arms to Shamash as the smoke ascended. Oh, Shamash, Why did you give this restless heart to Gilgamesh, my son? Why did you give it? You have moved him, and now he sets out on a long journey to the land of Humbaba, to travel an unknown road and fight a strange battle. Therefore, from the day that he goes until the day he returns, until he reaches the cedar forest, until he kills Humbaba and destroys the evil thing which you, Shamash, abhor, do not forget him, but let the dawn, Aya, your dear bride, remind you always. And when day is done, give him to the watchman of the night to keep him from harm. Then Ninsun, the mother of Gilgamesh, extinguished the incense. And she called to Enkidu with this exhortation: Strong Enkidu, you are not the child of my body, but I will receive you as my adopted son. You are my other child, like the foundlings they bring to the temple. Serve Gilgamesh as a foundling serves the temple and the priestess who reared him. In the presence of my women, any votaries and hierophants, I declare it. Then she placed the amulet for a pledge around his neck. And she said to him, I entrust my son to you. Bring him back to me safely. And now they brought to them the weapons. They put in their hands the great swords in their golden scabbards, and the bow and the quiver. Gilgamesh took the axe. He slung the quiver from his shoulder and the bow of Anshan, and buckled the sword to his belt. And so they were armed and ready for the journey. Now all the people came and pressed on them and said, When will you return to the city? The counselors blessed Gilgamesh and warned him, Do not trust too much in your own strength. Be watchful. Restrain your blows at first. The one who goes in front protects his companion. The good guide who knows the way guards his friend. Let Enkidu lead the way. He knows the road to the forest. He has seen Humbaba and is experienced in battles. Let him press first into the passes. Let him be watchful and look to himself. Let Enkidu protect his friend and guard his companion and bring him safe through the pitfalls of the road. We, the counselors of Uruk, entrust our king to you, O Enkidu. Bring him back safely to us. Again to Gilgamesh they said, May Shamash give your heart's desire. Give you your heart's desire. May he let you see with your eyes the thing accomplished which your lips have spoken. May he open a path for you where it is blocked, and a road for your feet to tread. May he open the mountains for your crossing, and may the nighttime bring you a blessing of night. And Lugulbanda, your guardian god, stand beside you for victory. May you have victory in the battle as though you fought with a child. Wash your feet in the river of Humbaba to which you are journeying. In the evenings dig a well, and let there always be pure water in your water skin. Offer cold water to Shamash, and do not forget Lugulbanda. Then Enkidu opened his mouth and said, Forward, there is nothing to fear. Follow me, for I know the place where Humbaba lives, and the paths where he walks. Let the counselors go back. Here is no cause for fear. When the counselors heard this, they sped the hero on his way. Go, Gilgamesh. May your guardian god protect you on the road and bring you safely back to the quay of Uruk. After 20 leagues, they broke their fast. After another 30 leagues, they stopped for the night. 50 leagues they walked in one day. In 3 days they had walked as much as a journey of a month and 2 weeks. They crossed 7 mountains before they came to the gate of the forest. Then Enkidu called to Gilgamesh, Do not go down into the forest. When one opened the gate, my hand lost its strength. Gilgamesh answered him, Dear friend, do not speak like a coward. Have we got the better of so many dangers and traveled so far to turn back at last? You, who are tried in wars and battle, Hold those to me. A dose? Probably close. That might be a typo. To me now, and you will feel no fear of death. Keep beside me, and your weakness will pass. The trembling will leave your hand. Would my friend rather stay behind? No, we will go down together into the heart of the forest. Let your courage be roused by the battle to come. Forget death and follow me, a man resolute in action, but one who is not foolhardy. When two go together, each will protect himself and shield his companion, and if they fall, then they leave an enduring name. Together they went down into the forest, and they came to the green mountain. There they stood still. There they were struck dumb. They stood still and gazed at the forest. They saw the height of the cedar. They saw the way into the forest and the track where Humbaba used to walk. The way was broad, and the going was good. They gazed at the mountain of the cedars, the dwelling place of the gods, and the throne of Ishtar. The hugeness of the cedar rose in front of the mountain. Its shade was beautiful, full of comfort. Mountain and glade were green with brushwood. There Gilgamesh dug a well before the setting sun. He went up the mountain and poured out fine meal on the ground and said, O mountain, dwelling of the gods, bring me a favorable drink. Then they took each other by the hand and lay down to sleep. I still think Gargoyle's a better setup. The sleep that flows from night lapped over them. Gilgamesh dreamed, and at midnight sleep left him. And he told his dream to his friend, Enkidu. What was it that woke me if you did not, my friend? I have dreamed a dream. Get up, look at the mountain precipice. The sleep that the gods sent me is broken. Ah, my friend, what a dream I have had. Terror and confusion, I seized hold of a wild bull in the wilderness. It bellowed and beat up the dust till the whole sky was dark. My arm was seized and my tongue bitten. I fell back on my knee. Then someone refreshed me with water from his water skin. Enkidu said, Dear friend, the god to whom we are traveling is no wild bull. Though his form is mysterious, the wild bull which you saw is Shamash, the protector. In our moment of peril, he will take our hands. The one who gave water from his water skin, that is your own God who cares for you, for your good name, your Lugal Banda. United with him, together we will accomplish a work, the fame of which will never die. Gilgamesh said, I dreamed again. We stood in a deep gorge of the mountain, and beside it we two were like the smallest of swamp flies. And suddenly the mountain fell. It struck me and caught my feet from under me. Then came an intolerable light blazing out, and in it was one whose grace and whose beauty were greater than the beauty of this world. He pulled me out from under the mountain. He gave me water to drink, and my heart was comforted. And he set my feet on the ground. Then Enkidu, the child of the plains, said, Let us go down from the mountain and talk this thing over together. He said to Gilgamesh, the young god, Your dream is good. Your dream is excellent. The mountain which you saw is Humbaba. Now, surely, we will seize and kill him, and throw his body down as the mountain fell on the plain. The next day, after 20 leagues, they broke their fast, and after another 30, they stopped for the night. They dug a well before the sun had set, and Gilgamesh ascended the mountain. He poured out fine meal on the ground and said, O mountain dwelling of the gods, send a dream for Enkidu. Make him a favorable dream. The mountain fashioned a dream for Enkidu. It came, an ominous dream. A cold shower passed over him. It caused him to cower like the like the mountain barley under a storm of rain. But Gilgamesh sat with his chin on his knees till the sleep which flows over all mankind lapped over him. Then at midnight sleep left him. He got up and said to his friend, "Did you call me? Or why did I wake? Did you touch me? Or why am I terrified? Did not some god pass by? For my limbs are numb with fear." "My friend, I saw a third dream, and this dream was altogether frightful. The heavens roared, the earth roared again, daylight failed, and darkness fell. Lightnings flashed, fire blazed out. The clouds lowered, they rained down death. They rained down death. Then the brightness departed, the fire went out, and all was turned to ashes, fallen about us. Let us go down from the mountain and talk this over and consider what we should do." When they had come down from the mountain, Gilgamesh seized the axe in his hand. He felled the cedar. When Humbaba heard the noise far off, he was enraged. He cried out, "Who is this that has violated my woods and cut down my cedar?" The glorious Shamash called to them out of heaven, "Go forward, do not be afraid." But now Gilgamesh was overcome by weakness, for sleep had seized him suddenly. A profound sleep held him. He lay on the ground, stretched out speechless, as though in a dream. When Enkidu touched him, he did not rise. When he spoke to him, he did not reply. "O Gilgamesh, lord of the plain of Kulab, the world grows dark, the shadows have spread over it. Now is the glimmer of dusk. Shamash has departed. His bright head is quenched in the bosom of his mother Ningal. O Gilgamesh, how long will you lie like this asleep? Never let the mother who gave you birth be forced in mourning into the city square." At length, Gilgamesh heard him. Lie put on his breastplate, the voice of heroes, of 30 shekels. Weight. 30 shekels is weight. He put it on as though it had been a light garment that he carried, and it covered him altogether. He straddled the earth like a bull that snuffs the ground with his teeth, and his teeth were clenched. "By the life of my mother Ninsun, who gave me birth, and by the life of my father, divine Lugulbanda, let me live to be the wonder of my mother, as when she nursed me on her lap." Second time he said to him, "Be the life of Ninsun, my mother, who gave me birth, and by the life of my father, divine Lugulbanda, until we have fought this man, if man he is, this God, if God he is. The way that I took to the country of the living will not turn back to the city." Then Enkidu, the faithful companion, pleaded, answering him, "O my lord, you do not know this monster, and that is the reason you are not afraid. I who know of him, I am terrified. His teeth are dragon's fangs. His countenance is like a lion. His charge is the rushing of the flood, which with his look he crushes alike the trees of the forest and reeds in the swamp. O my lord, you may go on if you choose into thus land. But I will go back to the city. I will tell the lady your mother all your glorious deeds till she shouts for joy. And then I will tell the death that followed till she weeps for bitterness." But Gilgamesh said, "Immolation and sacrifice are not yet for me. The boat of the dead shall not go down, nor the 3-ply cloth be cut from my shrouding. Not yet will my people be desolate, nor the pyre be lit in my house and my dwelling burnt on the fire. Today give me your aid, and you shall have mine. What then can go amiss with us two? All living creatures born of the flesh shall sit at last in the boat of the west. And when it sinks, When the boat of Magellum sinks, they are gone. But we shall go forward and fix our eyes on this monster. If your heart is fearful, throw away fear. If there is terror in it, throw away terror. Take your axe in your hand and attack. He who leaves the fight unfinished is not at peace. Humbaba came out from a strong house of cedar. Then Enkidu called out, O Gilgamesh, remember now your boasts in Uruk. Forward, attack, son of Uruk. There is nothing to fear. When he heard these words, his courage rallied. He answered, Make haste, close in. If the watchman is there, do not let him escape to the woods where he will vanish. He has put on the first of his 7 splendors, but not yet the other 6. Let us trap him before he is armed. Like a raging wild bull, he snuffed the ground. The watchman of the woods turned full of threatenings. He cried out. Humbaba came from his strong house of cedar. He nodded his head and shook it, menacing Gilgamesh. And on him he fastened his eye, the eye of death. Then Gilgamesh called to Shamash, and his tears were flowing. O glorious Shamash, I have followed the road you commanded, but now if you send no succor, how shall I escape? Glorious Shamash heard his prayer, and he summoned the great wind, the north wind, the whirlwind, the storm, and the icy wind, the tempest, and the scorching wind. They came like dragons, like a scorching fire, like a serpent that freezes the heart, a destroying flood, and the lightning's fork. The 8 winds rose up against Humbaba. They beat against his eyes. He was gripped, unable to go forward or back. Gilgamesh shouted, By the life of Ninsun, my mother, and divine Lugubanda, my father, in the country of the living, in this land I have discovered your dwelling. My weak arms and my small weapons I have brought to this land against you, and now I will enter your house. So he felled the first cedar, and they cut the branches and laid them at the foot of the mountain. At the first stroke, Humbaba blazed out, but still they advanced. They felled 7 cedars and cut and bound the branches and laid them at the foot of the mountain. And 7 times Humbaba loosed his glory on them. As the 7th blaze died out, they reached his lair. He slapped his thigh in scorn. He approached like a noble wild bull roped on the mountain, a warrior whose elbows are bound together. The tears started to his eyes and he was pale. Gilgamesh, let me speak. I have never known a mother, nor a father who reared me. I was born of the mountain. He reared me. And Enlil made me the keeper of this forest. Let me go free, Gilgamesh, and I will be your servant. You shall be my lord. All the trees of the forest that I tended on the mountain shall be yours. I will cut them down and build you a palace. He took him by the hand and led him to his house, so that the heart of Gilgamesh was moved with compassion. He swore by the heavenly life, by the earthly life, by the underworld itself, O Enkidu, do not be snared. Bird returned to its nest, and the captive man returned to his mother's arms. Enkidu answered, The strongest of men will fall to fate if he has no judgment. Namtar, the evil fate that knows no distinction between men, will devour him. If the snared bird returns to its nest, if the captive man returns to his mother's arm, then you, my friend, will never return to the city where the mother is waiting who gave you birth. He will bar the mountain road against you and make the pathways impassable. Humbaba said, Enkidu, what have you spoken is evil? You, a hireling, dependent for your bread. I envy, and for fear of a rival, you have spoken evil words. Enkidu said, Do not listen, Gilgamesh. This Humbaba must die. Kill Humbaba first and his servants after. But Gilgamesh said, if we touch him, the blaze and the glory of light will be put out in confusion. The glory and glamour will vanish. Its rays will be quenched. Enkidu said to Gilgamesh, not so, my friend. First entrap the bird. And where shall the chicks... that's a typo there. What's the chicks? MN then? I don't know. Afterwards, we can search out the glory and the glamour when the chicks run distracted through the grass. Gilgamesh listened to the word of his companion. He took the axe in his hand, he drew the sword from his belt, and he struck Humbaba with a thrust of the sword to his neck, and Enkidu, his comrade, struck the second blow. At the third blow, Humbaba fell. Then there followed confusion, for this was the guardian of the forest, whom they had felled to the ground. For as far as 2 leagues the cedars shivered when Enkidu felled the watcher of the forest, he at whose voice Hermon and Lebanon used to tremble. Now the mountains were moved and all the hills, for the guardian of the forest was killed. They attacked the cedars. The 7 splendors of Humbaba were extinguished. So they pressed on into the forest, bearing the sword of 8 talents. They uncovered the sacred dwellings of the Anunnaki. And while Gilgamesh felled the first of the trees of the forest, Enkidu cleared the roots as far as the banks of Euphrates. They set Humbaba before the gods. Before Enlil, they kissed the ground and dropped the shroud and set the head before him. When he saw the head of Humbaba, Enlil raged at them. Why did you do this thing? From henceforth may the fire be on your faces. May it eat the bread that you eat. May it drink where you drink. Then Enlil took again the blaze and the 7 splendors that had been Humbaba's. He gave first to the river, and he gave to the lion, to the stone of execration, to the mountain, and to the dreaded daughter of the queen of hell. O Gilgamesh, king and conqueror of the dreadful blaze, wild bull who plunders the mountain, who crosses the sea, glory to him, and from the brave the greater glory is Enki's. And that's the second part. The third part is Ishtar and Gilgamesh and the death of Enkidu. And we'll save that for the next stream. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Take a sip of my drink here. All right. Well, we've been streaming for 2 hours. There's a few more things I want to kind of talk about with the interview. There's this one, so we're going to go back to the interview, the Trump, Laura Ingraham interview. A lot of people are talking about that Trump was talking about bringing students in, specifically Chinese students. My avatar is broken on my stream? What do you mean it's broken? Oh, you mean the yeah, there's a bar there that I need to Photoshop out. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that. I was gonna eventually address that, but I just didn't feel like doing it right now. So I do appreciate that. Thank you. That's one thing I hadn't talked about. China is not sending students anymore because they don't want their young people becoming trims. Well, I mean, there has been a decline. That's one of the things, actually, because people were talking about, like he was saying, oh, we can have up to like 600 people, 600,000 Chinese students, and the universities, quote, need them because if we don't have foreign students, the universities can fail. And you know, there's two things I want to mention about that. Is that one, who gives a shit? I mean, really, who gives a shit? If the universities go out of business, so be it. Universities have been gouging students for so freaking long, it's not even funny. And if they're making their money off of foreign students over American students, they don't deserve to be in business, to be honest with you. I don't agree with that. So to me, that's a huge, huge problem. I don't think, again, it goes back to what we were talking about before. If we're going to be bringing foreign students in, again, we have to be really selective. We need to really filter out bad actors. Like, we had so many there's so many articles. Steven Crowder brought this up in his stream. There's sources at his website to back up what he was claiming. Is that there's a lot of students that are spies. At the University of Michigan, you had students trying to bring in this this fungus that could do severe harm to crops. You know, it's just really, really bad, and it's really ridiculous that we're catering to foreign students and putting Americans last. Or the University of Washington too. I mean, we have a huge, huge problem with immigration on all sides, and it has to do with illegal, legal, H-1B visas, student visas, work visas, birthright citizenship, anchor babies. Like, our system is being abused and basically raped left and right by every other country on this planet. And I mean, I will give credit where credit is due. Trump actually is trying to do something about some of this. He has addressed some of this. We've had virtually no crossings. We've had no crossings over the southern border. There has been little to no interactions with ICE over the southern border. So there is progress. Progress is being made, but I think things definitely do need to be taken a step further. You know, I really do. Yeah, no crossings, and the H-1B is shut down. Yeah, that's good. Don't listen to orthodoxies, they're panicking. Yeah, don't get me started on Nick Fuentes. That guy is such a fucking idiot, and people are it's ridiculous how people are keep propping him up, and he even had that interview with Tucker Carlson. We talked about that. He says he's a big fan of Stalin. He's making everything about the Jews, like Candace Owens is. I mean, there's these people that they're just taking the eye off the ball. You know, they're really taking the eye off the ball, in my opinion. So, I would say to Donald Trump, if this ever catches his ear for one reason or another, let's say for one reason or another he happens to come across my video or someone plays it for him, which I doubt will ever happen, but whatever, let's pretend it does. This is what I would say to Donald Trump. It's like, okay, listen, I get you wanna help universities. I mean, because this is the thing with Donald Trump. Actually, let me back up for a moment. The one thing that I actually have noticed a lot about Donald Trump is, even though he's a bull in a china shop in how he communicates and approaches things, the end goal isn't destruction. The end goal has never been destruction. He wants to build. He wants to build things. He wants people and communities to strive. He wants our government to strive. He wants our military to be stronger. He's not really a tearing down kind of president, really, if you think about it. And a lot of people, because he's very brash in his speaking. He's very upfront, no filters. He's just like he carries himself like a bull in a china shop. Like I was saying, like I was saying before, he has this air of him that he's just coming in and he's just gonna tear everything apart. But he's not that kind of guy. He's built an empire off of building relationships, doing wheeling and dealing. He wrote the book The Art of the Deal for that reason, to highlight that. He built golf courses. He's schmoozed with politicians, presidents, leaders, actors, celebrities, Hollywood. So that's the thing, is like a lot of people, I feel, have a misunderstanding of what his goals are when he says things like this. And then you have people that are the panicans, that they want him to tear everything apart. They want him to go and start World War III, even though they complain, oh, he's going to start World War III, but that's your expectation of him. That's why you think he's going to do that. The only reason why Candace Owens, for example, said the insane bullshit that she was saying, and other panicans were saying that, was because their expectation was that he was going to start World War III. He's going to set the Middle East on fire. He's going to destroy the economy. He's going to do with the tariffs. He's going to do this. He's going to do... No, he's not. The guy's smarter than you. The guy is likely smarter than me. I'm not a genius. I never claimed to be a genius. The whole Venezuela thing is weird to me. That I will say that his actions with Venezuela, on one side, I agree with them. I think Venezuela is a shithole, and it needs to be cleaned up. And I think he's posturing a lot. Blowing up the boats, I think, is good. The drug boats, the posturing of wanting to attack and put people on the ground, troops on the ground in Venezuela, I think that's mostly posturing to scare people and make the surrounding countries rise up and take care of Venezuela locally, kind of like what's happening with Gaza. All the surrounding countries of Gaza and all the Arab countries are stepping up to take care of what's happening in their backyard. Did you know that under Trump 2016 term there was a military operation to land on Venezuela, and they opened fire on our CIA Army guys and they had to flee? It was like Bay of Pigs, but more like Boat of Pigs, because they never landed. Huh. Is that true? I wasn't aware of that sort of operation. Why? Like, I'm not aware if that happened or not. I have to double check that. Trump complained about Mamdani being an anti-Semite, and then invited the new Syrian president who beheaded Syrian Christians and called him a good guy. Well, he always compliments world leaders. It's how he excuse me. It's how he interacts and deals with them. He puts them off guard that way. I think it's his way of dealing with things, with these people. I don't know if New York City actually has a high GDP. I really don't know if that's the case. New York City is a shithole. Okay, it just is. I lived there. I experienced New York City in all its glory under de Blasio. It was garbage. And this guy is going to make it even more garbage. And the funny thing about this guy is that every single promise that he made, he has no authority to do. I've heard Boston's interesting, yeah. It's expensive. I think Boston is very expensive, but I've heard it's a nice town. I just don't think I could deal with the accent, the New England accent. I don't like it. I think it sounds idiotic. We weren't officially involved. Okay. Excuse me. I'll have to double check that. Boston is no longer Boston, like France is no longer France. Welcome to the stream, Divine Physician, by the way. Welcome. I wouldn't go to France. I wouldn't go to Boston. New York City GDP is 1.29 trillion GDP. Syria is 20 billion GDP. I find it hard to believe that New York City generates 1.29 trillion GDP of money. I really find that surprising. All fake bank money. See, tangibly, like pragmatically, how much money does the city really generate in terms of the economy? Like real money. We're not talking about speculation. Well, if it wasn't a mercenary group, yeah, that's not officially like official government, technically speaking. I don't know. Like I don't know much about that. I have to look into that. I can't express an opinion on something I don't know. I'm not in the habit of doing that. I try to, if I do express an opinion, I try to at least have a modicum of research and try to have some familiarity with the situation. Yeah, mercenaries are used by governments all the time. Yeah, that's true. And there's all sorts of black ops and shadowy ops that happen. That all the regime change that's been going on since forever has always been like underground. On the down low. These are all like, yeah. Yeah, that's true, DoomTube. Syria used to be friendly, and this is a very similar situation. Yes, yeah, you're not wrong there. That's for sure. So, it's one of those things that there are good reasons to eliminate bad elements, especially what's been going on in Venezuela. It's just been terrible. But if you're going to do that, you have to be very careful about that. And people are very, like right now, this is not a good climate. You're not going to get a lot of support behind military actions. We have been in constant wars since George W. Bush till present day, and Trump has finally has been putting peace deal after peace deal after peace deal. People don't have the taste for it right now. So you have to be very careful and very deliberate and be able to really justify your actions if you're going to go in that direction. Have to use the Tor browser for regime change? I guess so. Yeah. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, to me it's kind of a precarious thing to go into action, any sort of military action, presently. That is true, DoomTube. Trump does do things, and it's generally not for show, but for actual results, and actual results. At least in the Middle East, yes. So it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to translate that over to other parts of the world. Like under Trump, you really don't hear much of what's going on in best Korea. China is on the defensive right now, and as kind of is Russia in a way, because Russia is trying to do this balancing act. They're trying to still get their cake and eat it, but you have the United States saying, no, you can't do that, and Trump is not the kind of person that you want to fuck around with. Even though he hasn't been super duper strong with Russia on certain things, but he has been wanting to put more sanctions, more economic hardships, etc., etc. And he's brought up some good points where he's like other countries have to stop buying oil, giving money to Russia. They have to stop buying oil from them. He's like, we can put on sanctions, but then when Europe buys oil, like NATO countries buy oil from him, they're like undercutting what America is trying to do. So, oh, well, no dubs. So Kim Jong doesn't start World War III. There you go. But anyways, that's the thing, is like what you said earlier. Donald Trump is just one guy, and yeah, there's only so much that he can do. So there is definitely that to keep in mind. So that would be my thought process about that. Two to 3 years, yeah. Year one of his second term is pretty much over. We only have about 3 years left. And that election cycle is going to be insane. Because we're never getting another Trump. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if J.D. Vance has no chance. I think he has this time frame between now and the next election cycle to really put a name out for himself. I'm not sure really what would be the best ticket for the Republicans post-Trump. I really don't know. I don't know. I am concerned about Vivek, like being, he's running for the governor of Ohio, right? So I am concerned. Yeah, GOP endorsed him, yeah. I am concerned for this reason. No, not David Hogg isn't going to win anything. The guy is too much of an idiot. And really, it also depends on who the Democrats push, because like Charlemagne, for example, there's this video Charlemagne, this just came out. He's talking about, oh yeah, Jasmine Crockett, they should be pushing her for, she's a great communicator, she should be the forefront of everything. And you know what, I agree. I agree that they should put Jasmine Crockett on screen all the time, because she is so stupid. It's not because she's a great communicator, it's that she is stupid. She is the stupidest of the stupid. There's the pantheon of stupid in the Democrats, and you have like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and all these others, like the squad, Ilhan Omar, Tlaib, Hirono. You have this pantheon of stupidity. And yeah, strong masculine males like who? Peter Buttigieg and Tim Walz, Tim Kaine. Yeah, let's see. The gay guy, the alleged straight guy who acts gay. The mayor of New York, who acts and acts very feminine and gay, and he's disgusting. He slobbers all over his fingers when he eats. No, they're turning on John Fetterman. They don't like him. The party does not like Fetterman because he's way more moderate. He's too moderate for them. Fetterman is not going to be a viable candidate for the Democrats. Yeah, he is very pro-Israel. Yeah, so yeah, that's not going to work for them.
Not all. I don't think AOC voted to fund Israel. Ilhan Omar, I don't think she voted to fund Israel. A lot of like the hardcore commies don't, and like the anti-Semite branch of the Democrat Party, they don't vote for that. Maybe Orthodox. I don't know. So far, this is the thing. So far, I have not seen a strong Lenin Stalin like leader from the left. I haven't. Mamdani does not have a strong masculine vibe. He doesn't. He just does not. He looks like a pussy. He acts like a pussy. And he's just a liar. He's he's a mangina. That's what he is. A lot of the Democrats are low testosterone manginas. I don't see much masculinity on the left. So if they're gonna try and push that, they're gonna have to really up their game. Also, the personality is like the one that did which debate? What do you mean? I'm not sure I follow about the debates. The primary? When the Democrats were doing the Democrat primaries? All of them were ridiculous, though. There was nothing masculine. Show me your mangina? No, I won't show you my mangina. Anyways. Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about that 1 versus 20? Yeah. The 1 versus 20 debates. I don't like those. I think they're not. The format is not very good. I find that it's very disorganized. It's not. Like by the time people are actually getting into a debate, they get voted off the island. I mean, it's interesting for kind of like a rapid fire kind of thing, but call me a traditionalist. I kind of prefer a more long form. Charlie Kirk was on one of those, actually, before he was assassinated. I would not define Mehdi Hassan as masculine. Yeah, he was murdered. He was assassinated. Charlie Kirk, I mean. Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't view Mehdi Hassan as masculine. These little twerps. That he's just. See, this is the thing. These people that I see on the left that have these stronger attitudes, like take Destiny for example, take Mehdi Hassan, take some other people that have a little bit more of an aggressive attitude. I don't view it as they don't act masculine. They act sassy. They act like an aggressive, sassy gay man. Destiny is also someone who's committed sexual assault on women. Won't apologize for it. Yeah, they're the psychophags. Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, they seem very, like, effeminate. And it's just part of being a leftist. It seems like if you're too masculine, you can't be part of that world. You know? So, I don't know. It's one of those things that I have yet to see someone on the left that is like really alpha male. Really, and I'm not even talking aggressive. We're just talking like a dude, a masculine dude, you know, that just, I mean, I don't consider myself a pinnacle of alpha maleness. But I don't act like a girl. I don't act womanish, you know. I don't act effeminate. So, and that's what I mean is like, these guys, it seems like they're incapable of really expressing themselves in a masculine manner. I mean, and I'm not even saying it's strictly a problem on the left. You have a big problem with that on the right too. I mean, look at Nick Fuentes, the guy. Were Lenin and Stalin? I don't know. I mean, I would say yes. I would say back in the day, there was a different attitude. There was a different attitude in behavior. There was a different way of it was a mindset. Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know about Nick Fuentes. So Nick Fuentes, if he admires someone like Stalin and says he's the best world leader ever, what Nick Fuentes is really telling me is that he's a communist. Stalin was a communist. He was a brutal dictator. He murdered millions. It doesn't matter, honestly, if he specifies great but not good. He was not great. Forget the good part of it. He was not great. He did not really bring prosperity to Russia. He did help. I will grant credit where credit is due. His involvement in World War II did defeat the Third Reich. He defeated the socialists, but you're just replacing one form of socialism with another form of socialism, because communism is just another form of socialism. And all of these fascism, socialism, communism, they all stem from Marxism. They all come from the same root. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is that Stalin was a formidable rival to Hitler in terms of the war. It was a brutal war that was fought. I've never heard of people considering Stalin a genius. Never heard that. I've never heard any assessment of that kind about his intelligence. I've honestly never heard any of that kind of assessment, even for Hitler or Mussolini or Mao. You know, in fact, quite the opposite. Actually, it's more like when people are doing documentaries about these people. Hey, Metal. Welcome to the stream. How the fuck do you go from being a Georgian peasant to being in charge of massive Russian Soviet Empire? Well, I mean, that's how revolutions work. That's how those kind of things work, honestly. You don't have to come from a king to usurp a king. You know, how does a Jewish woman become the president of Mexico? You tell me that. So it's like your situation of birth. There's a lot of examples of in history where people come from humble beginnings and they become like world leaders. Oh, she was super rich. Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. But the thing is this is that when you have revolutionary forces, it's not unheard of that if you're gonna basically overthrow the country, the French Revolution, for example, you didn't have another king lead the French Revolution. It was the populace. So you had people that ended up like, you did have some aristocracy as part of the process. You know, Robespierre. You had other people like that, but you also had a lot of people that took on leadership roles in the revolution, and they took on Marie Antoinette and King Louis. You know, so human beings are capable of a lot, actually. Human beings have let's call it elasticity. I think that's the best word for it. I don't think Napoleon was from nobility. I don't believe he was. I could be wrong. You know, actually, I could be wrong. I don't know. Let me see. Let me look that up now. I'm curious. But human beings, they have this, like I was saying, this elasticity. Okay, it was minor nobility, yeah. Hmm. Son of a lawyer. There you go. Corsica's, it was part of the Corsica's minor nobility, granting the family certain privileges under Genoese and later French rule. This background helped secure Napoleon's early education in French military schools, though his rise to power was largely due to his own talents during the French Revolution. Yeah. Yeah, human beings definitely have a capacity, and they have a huge amount of capacity for good, for evil, and can endure a lot, and they can do a lot in certain circumstances. Like they can go beyond their strength. They can stretch their intellect beyond what you would normally expect in certain circumstances. So human beings definitely, I would say that human beings definitely have a lot of capacity in different areas. I think it's highly subjective, though. I will say that I do believe that certain people may have greater capacity for certain things, while others maybe not so much. But I would say that there definitely is a spectrum, you know. And you kind of see that, actually. You kind of see that when you're looking at just the various talents that people exhibit. And then you also see that a lot highlighted with people with autism. When they're on the spectrum and you have these kind of savants, that they're very incapable in certain things, but they are very, very capable in others. You know what I mean? So I think that really highlights the kind of diverse spectrum of what people can be truly capable of. You have some people that physically can perform amazing feats, while others you have other feats of like arts and music and mathematics and science and things like that. I think the biggest fear of having poor people rapidly advance into huge positions of power isn't as much incompetence as is they won't be afraid to completely uproot and destroy everything. Yes, very much so. That's one of the biggest problems. I mean, you see that a lot. The self-destructive nature. You see that a lot with people who win the lottery. People that win the lottery blow their money like that, super quick. They don't know how to manage it, and even if they do know how to manage it, they still don't manage it well. They end up always going through it and making poor decisions. People who struggle and work for their wealth, they stay wealthy and they get wealthier for a reason, because they understand the process. They understand how difficult it was for them to get to that position. So absolutely, that's the other thing too. The other thing that you touch upon, Orthodox, is that people who are poor and are given a boon because they were poor, they feel like the world was against them, that the systems, I mean, they're indoctrinated to think that way too. You have people constantly saying, you deserve this. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have wealth. And it's the racist whitey or the racist, systemic racism, or it's the systemic sexism, or the this ism and that ism and that other ism that has kept you down. So when these people then go into power, just look at what they're doing in Congress. When you have Hispanics, minorities, and other people in Congress, they're tearing it apart. Because according to them, the only reason why they weren't successful, or their ancestors weren't wealthy, or they didn't have, big homes, lots of property, riches, wealth, inheritance, things like that, is because the other prevented them from having it. So if you view everything around you as the other, as this shroud that kept you down, this dark hand that punched you into the dirt, of course when you reach a position of influence and power, you're gonna go fucking nuts. It's kind of like a kid that when they're a child, they are bullied mercilessly. Every day they're beaten up. And they decide I'm gonna try and fix this situation, and let's say they find this miracle cure or something that gives them super strength. What do you think's gonna happen? They're gonna become the aggressor, because now they know they have this power and they're going to abuse it. That's the problem we have in Congress right now, and in politics. And not just in Congress and in politics, but also in like the three-letter agencies, all these bureaucrats, people in the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, Homeland Security, the Department of Justice. These people have a modicum of power, and because they have this weird, fucked up thing in their heads that they think everybody's oppressed and everything's systemic and everything is racist and everything is evil and our country is terrible and our Constitution is a piece of shit, they go nuts. Their conclusion, their foregone conclusion is everything must be turned over. Everything must be burned to the ground. They've said so themselves. We got to raise it all. We got to start over. We got to burn it to the ground, burn every institution to the ground, burn everything to the ground, destroy our history, destroy our Constitution, destroy our institutions, destroy everything, destroy our laws, everything. They've said so themselves. It is what it is. I mean, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Believe them. But anyways, we've been streaming for almost 3 hours here, guys. I have a few things I gotta take care of before I gotta go to sleep, and I gotta get my ass up really early in the morning tomorrow. So I think we might call it a night. Thank you, sir. Thank you, friend 33313. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that watched. And of course, I'm gonna sign off here as I normally do. I'm gonna give you guys my sign off here. But before I do want to say I appreciate everybody that watches the stream. Please, if you want to help a friend out, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It helps with the algo. Share it. It really helps with the algorithm. I'd appreciate it. I would appreciate the exposure and help. So thanks. Remember, kids, don't be complacent. Have a wonderful night. Hopefully next Tuesday I'll be able to do another stream. I'll keep everyone apprised of that. So thank you. Have a wonderful night.